we are, back from Mongolem. That all went pretty good. All cars came back, that's the main thing. Having spent at least two and a bit months on the Traveller full time, I've now had to put the focus back into Origins classic cars, where we store classics in the main, some modern performance cars as well, and we do sales as well. And this is a 1953 MG TD that we've had for a little while, if I'm honest, but we've had an inquiry just the other day, literally on our return from France, a chap who lives abroad, hence it doesn't mind being left-hand drive. We had a couple of little things I needed to do before he comes tomorrow. It hasn't been run for a few weeks because I've been working on Traveller for 2 months. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to change the fuel because unfortunately modern fuel, even to go for high octane, over a few weeks, months, just goes. So many cars we've had here start misfiring and running badly, and they weren't before. We've learned. If there's any question marks about fuel, get rid of it, put fresh in. So that's one of the things we've got to do today. I've actually already just checked. We've got a spark, which we have. Hopefully, with some fresh fuel and the battery's fully charged up, it should fire up. We'll soon find out. So let's say 1953 MGTD, originally exported, like most of them were, to America, so it's left-hand drive. Some got brought back and were converted. This has always stayed in its original configuration. It was properly and fully restored back in the 1990s, actually, so obviously nearly 30 years ago or more. And back in America, when we've got them in the office with a history file, it won a few competitions, some nice, fairly big car shows actually, and came first in class, second in class. Lovely history file from America. We even got some of its original plates. Then this car came back to the UK for whatever reasons in 2001 and was acquired by the current owner. In fact, it was the owner's father, and he bought it for her as a birthday present. She then moved out to France, so the car has spent a few years in France and was registered in France, so anybody wants to register this car, I think in mainland Europe it shouldn't be too difficult, despite us being the Brexit situation. And then her father passed away a few years ago. Car was just left in the garage back in the UK. It's registered in the UK now. And through lack of use, really, she just decided best to sell the car. And it's up for £12,000, which I think is extremely good value. They're everywhere between 10 and 16, 17, but at this price range at the lower end, they're normally a little bit tired, whereas whilst it's a little bit dusty at the moment, needs a good clean, this is a very solid, good example. So at Origins here, if you've seen some of the other videos with the Traveller, that's the workshop, which is based a few miles away near Marlborough. We're very near to Avebury. I've always had a principle here that this is not a workshop, so the most that we ever do is get a car running, and if it's been stood for a little while, so this is the most I'll do. It's metric. A dark yellow. And this is sort of, I'd say, 50% of the way there. But obviously it loses its octane sort of rating as well, which means that's when the engines don't like running properly. So hopefully we've not got too much in the fuel tank. We'll find out. We've got 2.5 gallons of fresh to go in. Pump's now drawing air, so that's interesting. There was only about, I don't know, 2/3 of a gallon in there. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. It's not been started for about, I don't know, a good 3 or 4 months. Let's see what we get with that back. In my mind, this dash pot fluid, oil, is not Should be a light oil. Some people put engine oil in, and that feels very heavy to me. And this one here is sticking, which is kind of entitled to because it's been sat around. Yeah, that's some sort of engine oil. It's not what I call 3-in-1 light oil. And the piston's still sticking. So that should normally go down with a nice little clonk on its own. But I shouldn't be having to push it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that off and give it a bit of a clean up. The piston's not going up, therefore it's not drawing air, and therefore it's not drawing fuel through properly. I did notice when I took the plugs out, the two here were quite, not weak, about right actually. These were a bit rich, probably when it was last run on choke. So that would suggest that this has been running a little bit weak, which could be something to do with this. I'm used to later MGs. It's also good to note, like for instance there's a couple of marks here, if you put it back in that position. Sometimes if you get it out, it's really not happy to set. So I just noticed a couple of little scores here, and that's where it's going to go back. Should want to drop a lot quicker and easier than that. It's not terrible. And there's oil in here that's damping it, which I'm going to tip out. It's probably a bit cold as well, but I got a funny feeling that's engine oil, and I'm going to replace it with a lighter 3-in-1 oil. I said earlier we only do basic startup and battery charging and things like that. Occasionally, like this car, I'm getting slightly more involved, and that's why it would be quite handy to have an on-site workshop, not in the main building but to the side. I mean, we rent this building, discuss that with the landlord, and that's a possibility in the future. Ideally, I'm not getting this heavily involved without a workshop, but needs must in this case. Just getting the sort of carbon build up off of this piston. And I'm going to do one other thing, which some people may or may not agree with. It's something my dad showed me, and it seems to work. I've done that for SUs. So it's not the perfect environment, shouldn't really be working like this. This is Brasso, a watery based polish. Put a little bit in there. Without being too aggressive, because it's very, very fine. That's just getting the surfaces very, very clean to one another without being, as I say, particularly aggressive. But when I was lifting this piston up before and letting go, it was staying up. Which means when it was down, it was struggling to go up. This is just a basic clean. I'm going to give it a proper clean in a sec. When you tighten these screws down on the SUs, you want to centralise it so the piston drops nicely. So what you don't want, if you do one tight, it'll cock very slightly. We're talking fractions, but it's enough to make this thing not drop. So you just do it very gently until you nip them all together, and you keep checking it's dropping nicely, which this one is now. So that's better. It wasn't doing that naturally on its own before. So now I've cleaned the left-hand carburettor and put in a slightly lighter oil. I can raise the piston easily, and when I let go, there's a little clonk when it hits the bridge of the base of the carb, which is exactly what you want. And it wasn't, I couldn't even lift it before. I have a funny feeling in a few minutes this thing will be running. I'm selling this on behalf of the owner, and they don't see the how you end up spending a couple of hours just trying to fire the car up after a little bit of non-use. But there you go. What kind of spark we've got.